I'd like to call the Village of Weston Plan Commission meeting to order for Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. We are starting a little bit late at 6:12. Sorry about that. Roll call, please.
Cronin,
Here.
Stanley,
Here.
Eason, Gert,
Here.
and Hoffman. Did I hear one of you guys say that?
Excused.
Okay. Jordan
Here.
and Mumper.
Here. Written communications, disclosures, and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals during this time. Do we have any? I have one written communication here that I'm gonna read in under item number 5, seeing as that's a public hearing. Item number 4, minutes from May 12th, 2025 meeting.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mumper, second by Gurnt. On the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Item number 5, public hearing, project number 2025-0213. Conditional use permit request at 8418 Maplefield Way to allow for the construction of a single-family home within the SFS Single Family Residential Small Lot Zoning District, where the width of the attached garages with front yard facing garage doors equals 65.7%. Per section 94.4.02, parent 1, parent H. The maximum allowed is up to 60%. Timber Ridge Builders is the developer. I will open the public hearing. And we have a presentation by applicants and or the staff. So whoever wants to take the floor.
Yeah, I've got this one. The applicants are in attendance this evening. Essentially, the way the footprint for this particular model of home, if you go to page 27. This is their proposed construction. The neighboring homes are all in the subsequent slides after this. Like it stated, it's slightly too much garage for the proportion of house in the zoning code. So the full plans are here, and then we'll get to the it's gonna be 36 is gonna be the neighborhood that it's on, the street that it's on in Inner Springs. So I've attached the elevations of the adjacent 5 homes and additional homes, 2-story homes in the neighborhood for your guys' reference. So the HS 19, which is what we're looking at right there, that's an existing home in the neighborhood. One slide down, HS 25 is also a currently existing home in the neighborhood. And then 5, so those are the 3 existing 2-story homes in the neighborhood. So those are our comparables from an appearance. And then on page 40, we're getting into the ones that are either existing on the street or proposed on the street. Joe and Alex purchased the majority of the lots on Maplefield Way earlier this year. And they've got, I think, all of them under construction. Is that correct, guys? Correct. So so the question is, should the plan commission allow them to construct this particular floor plan with a conditional use permit?
Great, thank you, Roman.
Will you
is there
guys have
anything-
anything to add to that?
Our only concern is that one line about the 60% of the total length of the house. And that makes sense on branches, but two-story, our second floor, all 38 feet, you can see from the front. So in our opinion, that line needs to be changed so that houses like this pass.
Could you state your name and address for the record as well, please?
Alex Tappy, and 8907 Inner Springs Drive.
Thank you. All right, anything else that you'd like to add? No? All right, moving on, public comment. Is there anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this matter? Second time, anybody that would like to make a comment? Third time, any comments? I have one that was sent in, from Heath Tappy. It says Denyon Homes owns several remaining properties in the subdivision and we support requests for plan 8418 Maplefield Way being approved for Timber Ridge Builders. Heath Tappy, 5309 Schofield Ave. Nobody with their hand up?
No.
All right, so I'm gonna close the public hearing. Recommendation from staff.
I believe we had that listed.
Pretty sure it was, but
I recommend.
Yeah. So.
Can I ask a question?
absolutely, yeah.
In our
Go for it.
code, do we not add the second floor, the percentage?
On page 19. Is the performance standards for 1 and 2 family homes. And it's a very, brief description, but the width of attached garages with front yard facing garage doors shall be limited to a maximum of 60% of the overall width of the residence as it faces the front yard. So it doesn't take into account any exposed, wall surfaces. It's just that linear measurement.
Okay.
So.
It's the horizontal measurement of it.
Has this come up before? Cause I don't remember hearing this.
Yeah.
Ever before.
It's,
There was one on the corner of Mesker, that's how that,
Okay. I'm just thinking in light of, do we need to change the wording of and I thought to myself, I don't ever remember hearing this before, so.
it's not, typically we'll, if it's early on in the stages, we can work with some design changes. This per Joe and Alex, this is a pretty popular floor plan for them, that they've had quite a bit of success with. So, they wanted to pursue this route versus make adjustments to the building plan.
Well, and I guess at the last meeting, we talked about garages are not getting smaller and we are having more and more of the, so maybe that says, maybe it speaks to that we do need to look at changing the wording in on a go forward basis. Unless there's some reason that, does anyone think it's a problem in this specific home or?
No,
I don't
to me,
know.
I don't.
I don't either.
To me, it's a no-brainer when you consider that, when a developer is trying to figure out how many lots you can get on into a subdivision, we shouldn't be restricting them from, what really adds on to it is that third or the second garage door, that really makes it, that size, but that's what really is, popular. And as to the value, and we certainly don't want to do anything to discourage those guys from doing that.
Yeah, I think the original intent of this ordinance was, there are a number of duplexes and some other properties along, it runs from the fire department back to Ross Ave. Corzala, and a couple other ones back there where almost everything that you see from the driveway or from the road is all garage and then a door. That's it. There's no windows or anything. And I think the original intent of this was to try to prevent that from perpetuating, but maybe it is something that we could look at.
And again, the reason for that, and in my experience with garages across the whole front, is it's typically a tri-level. And there's a lot of living space behind that. And I get that it might not be that visually from the street, but the reality is the value that's being provided behind it is what matters.
Right.
The square footage that they have, so I'm glad that these guys are trying to make this thing look pretty good, but I mean, that restriction should be not as significant as it is right now.
Can I
Sean's got.
say something?
Yeah.
So a lot of times
Sorry.
this is due to planning principles, essentially. When we talked about it was you don't really want to have just garage. So that's why there's the restriction to actually see houses. Some of this goes back to making the neighborhood look more like a neighborhood and not so much as people just driving into their houses, that kind of thing. So maybe it's looking at making it go to 65 or a little bit higher percentage, but I guess I wouldn't say you would want to have it to where somebody could just basically look like the whole thing is a garage. I just think that's not proper planning and building of a neighborhood and a community where this stuff tends to be. Because you're trying to create a neighborhood
Yeah.
essentially.
I agree with that, Jen, but the reality is when you get into that really wide garage, and there's typically a second story above that is can be decorated to give curb appeal, you know, so trying to, I guess some of the examples are right here on Ross Avenue. There's a couple of duplexes that are mostly garage in the front, but they are two-story. And when you look at the overall appearance of that from the street, it still is, I think, good from a residential aspect. So I think that it could be.
Are you saying that, Joe, just because of the second story, you get a little more curb appeal, but because I understand.
Right.
I understand both points. I think they've got a nice looking plan here. And I think it's, you know, but I also understand
Yeah, if it's
Jen's
just like a
and
ranch.
Steve's
that-
opinion as well, because, you know, over by Wassa Supply, Joe, there is a bunch of those duplexes as well. That's all you see is a garage and then a little bit of a window and a little front door. I get it, there's value back behind there, but I do also see you're going down the road and all you see is garage or garage or garage or garage or garage or for aesthetics. So it's one of those things that you're kind of caught up in the middle of, but how do you want your neighborhood to look?
Yeah, and what's the cost of a conditional use permit for these guys?
It's $350.
And the delay, you know, and so.
Well, I think for today, for tonight, I mean, essentially, we can only do this one, but if we want to bring this up at the end of the meeting during comments or referrals and bring it back later on this summer, we can definitely do that.
So my only question to the builders was, are you guys ready to build this? Or if you could avoid the cost of the conditional use permit, would you put the project off for some period of time?
We're not putting it off.
Okay.
I see where you're going.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think Joe was just saying if you guys waited a little bit to get it approved, you don't have to, it's already been paid for the conditional use already though, right?
Yeah.
So you want, I suppose your foundation's not in, or is it?
No, I gave them a early start permit with the condition that they may not get approved at plan commission for this conditional use permit at their own risk.
Yeah, I think we should look at this, again, I agree with you guys, and I think we should look at this, and also I agree with Alex, is we have a second story on here. I know we have width, but now we have another roof or another facade on the front of the garage as well, that's above the garage, that can give some aesthetics to it as well. So I think that we might have a different avenue with that, because we don't want to get in a situation where we're 70% up of this garage and you only see a little bit, and then somebody keeps stacking the houses that way. Or even if they're duplexes, that I understand, I get it. But there's gotta be some lenience here with a second story or something that you're still seeing the curb appeal of the second story and the roof line, and that you're not making it look like it's a bunch of
And I agree
box
with you, that'll
garages.
take some amount of discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So I was just looking to save you guys $350 if you weren't in a hurry.
All right. Any further discussion, or we'd like to go through the determination?
Oh,
All right. So item number one, is the proposed conditional use consistent with the comprehensive plan, this chapter and all other plans, programs and ordinances adopted by the village and ETZ committee?
yes.
Yes. Two, the proposed conditional use in its proposed location and as depicted on the required site plan will not result in a substantial or undue adverse impact on nearby property, the character of the neighborhood, environmental factors, traffic factors, parking, public improvements, public property or rights of way, or other matters affecting the public health, safety, or general welfare, either as they now exist or as they may in the future be developed as a result of the implementation of the provisions of this chapter, the comprehensive plan, or all other plans, programs, and ordinances adopted by the village.
No,
No.
Three, does the proposed conditional use maintain the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities, and land use impacts as related to the environs of the subject property?
Yes.
The proposed conditional use located in an, is the proposed conditional use located in an area that will be adequately served by and will not impose an undue burden on any of the improvements, facilities, utilities, or services provided by public agencies serving the subject property?
Yes.
And lastly, do the potential public benefits of the proposed conditional use outweigh potential adverse impacts of the proposed conditional use after taking into consideration the applicant's proposal and any requirements recommended by the applicant to ameliorate such impacts?
Yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve this, the number.
Page 20.
2025 21 023 0213. As presented.
Second.
So we have a motion by Decent, seconded by Mumber to approve project number 2025-0213 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
So we're gonna visit this later at some point.
Yeah, so well, yeah, I kind of, I have a note here, but we'll make sure we have to bring it up at the meeting to get it on the next agenda at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
thanks for hard work, you
Thank you,
guys.
gentlemen.
Stuff looks good.
Number six, project number 2025-0223, site plan approval of a proposed detached accessory structure for residential use that occupies land between the principal building on a residential lot and a street right of way at 8004 Lindenwood Court per section 94.4.09, parent 2, parent J.
Another one. So Carl is present as well. But essentially, Carl purchased a second lot and due to his location of his original build, he's about 110 feet off the right of way. And the topography of the adjacent lot where he wants to put his detached garage does drop off about 8 feet. If he was to put it at that same 110 feet back from his property line. So do not have to bring in a tremendous amount of fill for this project. This page here does show our 2-foot contours. And so that elevation of grade is essentially really close to the house. So that particular location is also less wet because as it drops down to the south and to the east, it does get increasingly poor soil conditions in there. So Carl would like to put the detached accessory structure in front of the house, which needs this body's approval.
Okay. I guess this isn't a public hearing or anything, so. At least that's not the way it's written on, that, is that correct?
It is not, it's just a site plan
Okay.
approval.
Just the Yeah.
Okay.
Site plan.
56, page 56. You want to bring that up? That's got our setbacks and distances on it and zoom in on that.
So everything else is good. We're just concerned with that it's not,
Yeah, it's gonna match the roof lines of the house. It's basically gonna be a miniature version of his house from an exterior.
I saw the plans, they look really nice.
So, and the setback in that neighborhood, the garage does meet the principal structure setback. It's just Carl didn't want to be near the street at all, so he's way back off the property line. You know, so, it does meet principal structure setbacks for that zoning district.
Is it, the driveway is gonna come off the existing driveway
Correct.
as well?
Otherwise he would need Public Works Director and zoning administrator approval for a second access on that.
Okay.
From that side of that property. So we worked with Carl to have that come off of his existing driveway.
It appears on that map that you're showing there, there's the one coming off there, but that's eliminated, Carl.
Pardon me?
On this map here, it shows there's a driveway coming off the road there.
That's an old drive from when Agnes owned that project. She had a path or whatever.
Oh, sure.
So it was already cleared. And there's no road there yet either. So
Sure.
who knows if there will be someday, you know, an approved street.
Sure.
Yeah, Lindenwood Court is gravel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But point of order. Please state your name for the record.
Oh,
I'm
thank
sorry,
you.
Carl Matthews, 8004 Lindenwood Court.
Thank you.
So the two lots were combined.
Yep.
And then your definition of this being in front of the house is measured how?
Right away. Oh, so, cause on that map, it shows 60 some feet and the other one's 100.
110.
110.
So item J, in all residential RR2 and non-residential and mixed use zoning districts for all multifamily residences regardless of district, no portion of a detached accessory structure for residential use shall occupy any land between the principal structure on a residential lot and a street right of way, except where approved by plan commission as part of an approved site plan. So
Even though it's not technically in front of it, it's still closer to
To
the
the
right of
street.
way
right,
than the house is.
So that's a technicality.
Yeah.
really.
semantics, so
the
you
fact-
could say.
Fact that it's a cul-de-sac is really what makes it closer to the road than. I would think that when you're viewing that from the street, it's gonna look like it's at least as far back as a house.
Not far enough back, I don't even know if you'll see it.
There's, I don't know what Carl's plans are for removing any of the existing trees on the lot or anything like that, but, you know, I've been out to Carl's house and it's not. You really can't even differentiate between where the technical right of way starts and Carl's property starts because it's all just a straight, pretty much gravel road right into his driveway. So, but in the event that someday there's a full-blown subdivision down there,
You need approval.
and the way with the market's going right now and new home starts, it's not out of the question.
You ready for a motion?
Yes, you are.
I move to approve allowing a detached accessory structure for residential use that occupies land between the principal building on a residential lot and a street right of way at 8004 Lindenwood Court per section 94.4.09 paren 2J.
I second it.
So we have a motion for approval by Mumper, seconded by Gurnt on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Here, guys.
Item number 7, annual new housing fee report for 2025.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7 and 8 are pretty much tied together. Since 2019, we've been, well, basically 2018, but the first time that we did each of the reports was 2019. We've been required to do this annually via the state, basically the developers Bill of Rights that was done. So we're required to do this new housing fee report every year. So it's essentially taking, if you look, the fees collected for all the different projects that we have over the course of the years, listing the new home permits for each year, and also providing the fee schedule. So that's what this document entails. We're required to post this on the website, so there is actually a dedicated web page for these documents. Any community over 10,000 population have to do this. So there's a number of these reports in other communities also out there. So this one has been updated annually.
Okay. So for the housing fee report, do you need an acknowledgement?
It's just an acknowledgement. It's
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
I'll move to acknowledge the 2025 Village of Weston new housing fee report.
Second.
Motion by Zagami, second by Deason. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 8, annual housing affordability report for 2019 to 2025.
So this came out of the same bill, and it's essentially providing a housing affordability report. It's essentially, we're supposed to do a report to highlight development activity and analyze the impact of residential development regulations on the cost of developing new housing. So this report was originally done in 2019 with the help of the North Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. So they did the initial report in 2019 and then updated it in 20 and 21. Due to all the staffing changes that we had in the department in 22 and 23, we missed getting that updated. So this past year, I worked with the RPC to update. So we're completely updated for all the years. And then they also made it easier for us to, as staff, update going forward. So this plan is essentially put on, like the other one, on the website. And it just kind of gives an idea of development costs in the village. So this is basically to developers, not what's out there in existing housing stocks. So this would be looking at the costs for developing a new home in the village. So it analyzes, our permit fees, kind of takes a look at the zoning code and does it allow for a bunch of different housing types. So this document is also already on the website.
If you compare it with the other community, how are we doing?
I haven't looked at I've seen other communities' reports, but I haven't done any kind of analysis. I know that just doing what we did in 2015 with our zoning code put us ahead of a lot of the area communities around here. We dropped down the size of the house. We allowed a lot of different housing options. So, Roman and those guys are seeing townhomes being built out there. We've changed setbacks over the years to allow, I guess, I don't know if it's more affordable, but there's bigger houses going up on smaller lots, that kind of thing. So.
You said we have a record number of building permits this year.
Yeah.
Too,
I've
correct?
got 57 active build sites.
So what was the previous highest number that we've had?
Well, going back to, this will be the largest year since I've been here in 9 years. There are some boom years.
There was, yeah,
when
a couple
Tappy Bill was
years
going up.
where the Tappy subdivision was going, where there was like 200 housing starts, single family in a year out there for like 2 years, I think, but last year they did a 38 all year and they're already at 54, I think is
We
what.
got, we
and
got
we've
6 in the
more.
queue right now in review. So, I mean, in different phases of review. So, and that's, I mean, we're not seeing that slow down, I don't think. I mean, we've got 4 active subdivisions in town right now. So,
We have a meeting with, is it next week with
yeah, with Alex and Joe, we're
Alex
looking
and
at
Joey to
Old
talk
Costa.
about Old Costa, so they're gonna go forward with that. Start planning for that, so that'll probably be a next year, I would
That's
think,
on
Bill.
Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, this week?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And we also have another one on Friday with somebody who is brand new to the area looking to start developing things.
Is that for the full plat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so essentially, they took what Heath was looking at doing and added the things that Michael wanted to it, so.
To
Should be
meet
fine.
the subdivision regulations, not
Yeah.
just what I wanted to make it
Well,
meet. code.
they're following the subdivision regulation.
Yes.
This report doesn't, it doesn't do anything, like if you're a home buyer, it doesn't really tell you anything about
No,
how,
I'm-
that's not what the
That's not-
intent of this
it's
is.
from the
right?
developer's bill of rights, not the landowner's.
Okay. And the reason I ask is I got forwarded I'm not sure where it was posted, but I got forwarded a message or a question that Brian Kowalski had from the Wassonian had asked today in regards to this. It must have been somewhere online, but I
So
just wanted to make sure that this was
I
clarified.
looked in my email and they were talking about like housing affordability, but I can only see the first part, so I don't know if there was more to the story, but it didn't
Sure.
mention us at all.
It was just a blog question about addressing the affordability, but I think the answer is that this report is for the developer, not for
Right.
whether or not there's affordable housing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my question. I think that there was some misunderstanding in regards to what the report was actually for, so I wanted to make sure that it was clarified what the purpose of this was. So, oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe. I
Jamie,
didn't see
Jamie,
it.
if you scroll up page 94,
In the packet. 1 second.
So,
help me understand why some of the PIN numbers have addresses associated with them.
So they have addresses if they've been addressed, so like 3006 Foxtail Court is probably the retaining that lot that the village owns in there, so they're basically lots that are vacant that have not been built on. Many of them don't, we now give an
So-
address when
so,
somebody
yeah.
actually gets a permit for it.
So the addressed ones are the vacant ones?
No, so these are all basically vacant parcels.
Okay.
Some of them would have an
Some do
address
have-
because
some
they
do
may have, yeah, so if
So
they
they're
were
all
part of a
vacant.
plat,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all available. Yeah, he's listing all the available, and this is just basically, there's nothing on them. That doesn't mean that they're entirely buildable, I would guess.
And these are all parcels they're ready to go. Like, we don't need to install infrastructure, or do some of these not have?
These would just be vacant. They
They
don't.
would just be vacant,
Have utility.
yeah,
But she's, like she said, I don't think some of them may not even be buildable.
right.
Okay,
There's some, like on 4911 Annabelle Court is an infill lot essentially that's left on Annabelle Court. There's one build site left there. East of Von Kennel.
what percentage of these are buildable, would you say, if you had to, I am not looking for a specific, but you get a guess.
Brianna is buildable. I would assume it's out by county materials right off Highway 29. Annabelle Court, I would assume is, without looking at.
Well, it's probably all the ones west of Von Kennel.
Annabelle, yeah, I mean, the ones west of and Von Kennel are gonna be the questionable ones. Foxtail, if that is, the village site, then that's probably not.
And some of them are gonna depend on this body too, like he's showing the B3 properties on Adventure Way. Depending by conditional use or depending on the type of project, it could be a mixed use, it could be some type of residential use, but that would come with more approvals from here, so.
It truthfully didn't occur to me that there were this many properties that were. All right, to answer my question, do these already have utilities and everything running to them, like they are ready to build?
Anything on Brianna, Highland, Annabelle, Foxtel, Laura Lee, Chadwick, those, correct me if I'm wrong, but those have utilities to them,
Wow, okay,
so. It's the AR stuff, the bigger parcels that would
That
be
don't.
questionable,
okay.
because those are our larger parcels. And based on the pins, I'm assuming those are all mostly south of.
So there's a
29.
map on 112 that kind of shows you.
112.
And again,
The reason I ask is and I'm trying to recall when it was, but we had a meeting. Gosh, this has to have been a couple, 3 years ago now, but where we talked a lot about smart growth and urban sprawl and not, it's great that we have development coming in, but trying to fill in the holes that we have instead of continuing to kind of branch out. And that's why I ask.
I think the only hard part, Steve, I guess I'll say is the cost of housing right now is very difficult to go into an existing lot that's 20 years old in a subdivision, or 25 years old, or 30 years old, or because somebody's afraid to stick $350,000 when the surrounding homes are worth 125 or 130, 140. That's the difficult part.
Parables aren't there.
No, you can't, you just can't get, it's not the right investment for somebody, and some of those lots can suffer from that for those reasons, That's the best analogy I can tell you why those kind of sit where they are. Somebody made a bad, I don't want to say made a bad decision, but thought they would hang on to the lot, or they were gonna buy the lot to build, and decided not to build it, and all of a sudden 20 years goes by and they sell the lot to somebody, and it's, a neighbor wants to buy it, and it just sits there, and then nobody wants to buy it because it's twice as much to build a house that's the comparable size that's in the neighborhood, and we're never gonna get their money back out of it.
I think we are in a situation now currently though with the housing stock and lack of inventory, that we are starting to see these infill lots. So Mesker Street, where the raise order, that's gonna get a duplex on it this year. I would assume Luke's coming through with that any month now. The corner lot on Mesker and Ross, I've had multiple conversations with a builder about that lot and how to fit something on that lot. So,
Then I could see where you're putting multifamily where it's rental.
that sort of stuff is what we are seeing those vacant infill lots.
Yeah.
Except, the infill subdivision that Green Tree's working on, that's essentially an infill subdivision.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like it from, Ross Avenue, but there's, that's finishing off that existing subdivision up there.
Yeah. And
looking at what's the new houses versus the older subdivision. Yeah, what's going in, the small stuff is smaller than what's there on the old neighborhood.
Mhm.
So, still meets our code, right? But it is, some of the houses are not very big.
Yeah,
So,
well, they can't be, they need to be affordable where it's possible, right? It costs so much money right now to do anything.
Okay,
Are we just looking for an acknowledgement on this?
I think so.
I'll make
Just
a
an
motion to
acknowledgement.
acknowledge the annual housing affordability report, 2019 through 2025.
Second.
Motion by Gurnt, seconded by Mumper on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Should we do 9 and 10 together? May 2025 staff approved certified survey maps and site plans, and May 2025 building permits.
To acknowledge.
Second.
Are we acknowledging both concurrently?
Yep.
Okay.
To acknowledge both.
So motion by Mumper, seconded by Deason, to acknowledge items 9 and 10 on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Item 11, Planning and Development Department Project Update Report. When's A&W opening?
It's supposed to be-
23rd.
Oh, did they move it back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it always
did
moves
a-
back.
Did an occupancy inspection on Friday, I think it was. But yeah, their target opening is the 23rd.
Okay, can I ask what the status of the storage units out here is? By Trailside?
Oh, those ones.
I haven't seen a whole lot of movement out there since we met with.
They haven't, I sent Owen the bill for the permit that he has yet to pay for. Haven't heard from him since then. So, once we had the stop work order removed, he still hadn't paid for the existing building permit that he didn't have. So there's a pending permit payment in order for him to technically pick up construction process out there. But I haven't heard from him in a couple weeks, so.
Okay. Anybody got any other questions, comments? I think we're looking for a motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge Planning and Development Department Project Update Report.
We have a motion by Gurnt. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Zagami. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Announcements and commissioner remarks. Gary, you have anything?
No, just besides, further discussion on the percentages for those.
Okay. Yeah, well, can we get that on the agenda? If not next month, at least at some point in the next couple months here.
Sure. Do you want us to take a whack at it? Because we've got some other ones that we're bringing, so we have to have, we had Mark help us with some changes that we had wanted to bring to you guys this meeting and then schedule the hearing. But we didn't get a chance to sit down and talk about it until this past Friday, so there's some changes we want on that, so we could talk to him if you want to give us some somewhat direction, which I'm thinking you're okay if it's a 2-story.
You think like an overall percentage of the street facing walls?
Well, how do you feel about it, Roman? I mean, what is, sorry,
Technically speaking, we probably shouldn't have too much of a back and forth discussion on this. So.
Or just some addition, I mean, some direction from the planning commission would be on.
Well, I think your thoughts were that the second, whatever the second story is, should account for that, correct? So it should be more percentage based than a percentage of the whole width of the house. Is that kind of what I heard?
Looking at the front elevation.
Yeah.
Considering the front elevations, vertical square footage of the front elevation, how's that?
Yeah.
well, right now it's written that it's the length of the front. So we'd have to somehow encompass the length of the second story as well.
Right.
If there's a second story on it, then it can be counted as the.
If it's a ranch house, then we're good. I mean, the way that it is, so to speak.
By level, it's a roof.
So, yeah, so it could be a combination of the way that it's written today, or a percentage of the elevation, the vertical elevation exposed to the street. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so that precludes the ranch house that doesn't have a second story, keeping, part of the front elevation house instead of garage.
Are we also bringing in, is that the same discussion gonna be about the larger size garages then also?
Yeah, that was already
That'll
included
be
in
part of
there.
it also.
Mhm.
At least I would recommend that all be.
Yeah, that's
I think
already
that's where we've
written.
gotten the most conditional use permits in the last few years,
Mhm.
that oversized garages, right? I mean,
Michael, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had maybe more or less at the staff discussion too, staff level. I mean, some people, they will put like a little bump out for like a woodworking shop or something that's part of their garage. So I guess maybe, you know, is it the garage door? Is it a certain part of that garage too? I don't know, you know, but like if all of a sudden there's a bump out of, you know, somebody wanted a little spot there for their table saw and something like that, but it doesn't have a garage door, is that still part of the garage or is that now part of the house again?
It sounds like you guys have, and I have an understanding that there's a little bit of an issue here if we're getting a number of different requests to, right? That's the way it sounds. So if you want to, if I guess based off those comments, if you want to bring something back.
This was only the second time that we've. had
For
one.
this
The first one
particular
was
case.
based off of, it was a weird lot. That's why they had to do it that way.
Is it because the people know and they're trying to hack their garage and then they're trying to figure out how to put a garage in their backyard and coming in for a permit after that then, or?
No, it's just a,
Typically on us, like an actual, like someone privately building their house, they don't have a problem meeting that. These are the only issues have been in the mass. Like the
Development
like the
areas.
development.
It's generally developers that have a standard floor plan that they wanna put in and it doesn't meet that standard.
It's the
floor
third
plan.
car garage on a house that's
And
kind
I
of
believe they're
small.
not, I mean, I think they're necessary, to be honest with you. I really do. People don't have enough space, garage space, but I understand the situation we're in. We just gotta try to figure out what's best for.
well, I mean, you look at, you know, a third stall garage, a detached garage and storage units, and that's a lot of what we look at.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's all
Not too much stuff.
they do. But you can't regulate that,
We're all guilty.
so, I mean, I've got too much stuff too,
Yeah,
so.
I'll do. Joe, how many garages you got? Sorry.
We don't have time for that.
All right.
Hey, easy,
Whoa.
the hardware guy.
Anything else, Gary?
No, I'm sorry. I just had that conversation. That's it. Sorry.
Okay, Dave?
I just have one quick thing. I mentioned it to Michael this evening and, I know there's still work being done on Weston Avenue between Alderson and Birch. But, it just appears to me like the storm water covers are too low. It's like, for me, it's like hitting a pothole every time I hit one of those things.
Is it stormwater or is it manhole covers?
I don't know, they're this big around.
It's
Anyway,
the storm manholes,
yeah, whatever.
it's not a plan commission item.
Yeah. But I think somebody should go out and look at it. And if they're gonna,
The center of the road or?
if they're gonna do something about it, great, but I don't know if they are. I mean, I know there's still the sidewalk, walking path, bike trail that's not done yet, but it seemed like they hurried up and got that done last fall and they're not level with,
Are they at the center of the road or at the side, at the middle of the?
they're both they're kind of both. I mean, I'm not swerving to hit them, but I do hit them occasionally.
This is not a plan commission item. It'll be addressed by Public Works, don't worry.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
Why don't we just,
It's taken care of already.
well, put it
In the
2x4
queue.
and measure it, see how much drop is there?
Yes, it's.
All right, Roy?
Nothing.
Joe? Okay.
No, thank you.
I don't have anything else to add. Next regular meeting date, Monday, July 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I think future agenda items, we've got the building elevations coming back. Anything else that anybody would like to see come back?
I will not be able to make that meeting. I might, please be excused.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody have any other items they would like to bring back at a future date? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Please.
Motion by Deason, second by Jordan. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. We are adjourned at 7:02 PM.